Hey guys, so I just wanted to sort of continue talking about the topic from my last video, which I will link here, which was talking about how sort of the current prevailing ideas about manifestation that are becoming sort of a groupthink type of mentality around the manifestation community. How those don't really make sense if you think about the fact that it's widely accepted by these same people that you don't control death, which means that something else is controlling death, which means that there's something else out there besides you. Or at least there's an aspect of yourself that isn't you that you don't have control over. Now, if you buy that, then that aspect of yourself that you don't have control over, which my assertion is, my father and I are one, but my father is greater than I. The father that is greater than you is the thing that is determining your death. My assertion is that thing is actually also determining a lot of other things, but it's working with you essentially on your behalf for your own good. So things that appear to be bad, things that happen to you that are bad, that people who I don't think have thought a lot about this might tell you created that, like from this level, not you, the father is greater than I, you, not that thing created this for you for your benefit. You created this basically out of an error, is essentially what they're saying. Like, you had this bad thing happen to you, and you didn't have to have that happen. It was just because you were negligent in figuring out the right way to think about it or something like that. Which, honestly, to some degree, what I'm saying is that, but it's not that. My assertion here is that you have a lot of control over things. You have a lot of ability to intend for things. But if this whole experience is basically leading to a reintegration with God, which is absolutely Neville Goddard's standpoint in his writings. And so if you're using Neville to justify stuff, you really have to read everything he said and try to understand. He said you're here to fulfill scripture. He said basically you're going to reincarnate over and over again. If you don't get it, you're at your death, you're just going to wake up again in a 20-year-old body. You're not going to remember that you already did this, and you're just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it until you lay down new tracks, basically is what he said. And I don't think personally that he meant, thinking your way out of situations. My understanding of Neville Goddard is basically talking about the evolution of yourself and your soul. Neville Goddard is not all about getting stuff, despite the fact that he, appealed to the lowest common denominator by telling them they could get stuff. That is definitely something he did. That's not what he was about. He was about evolving yourself to become the greatest version of yourself that you can be. Imagine the best that you can about yourself and everyone else. He's talking about, evolving and transcending, in my opinion. And so the way that the mainstream is talking about this is kind of a parallel to what I'm saying. They're saying, if you just imagine yourself, the reason that there's war in your world is because you believe there's war in your world. Like, the way this is said is from sort of a mundane perspective. Like, if you can somehow control your thoughts enough, then war will disappear because you will simply have believed that it doesn't exist or whatever. Neville Goddard said that war will always be because of the nature of man, because conflict is in man. So the way that you get to a point where war isn't in your world is by removing the conflict, evolving, transcending above the conflict that is your nature as a human being, which you can do. I mean, that's sort of what I'm talking about with this stuff. So if the God that is greater than you, that is creating things, including your death, and I don't see any reason to believe that the Father that is greater than I don't see any reason to believe that Father isn't creating all kinds of things to be experienced here for all of us. If that's the case, there's a reason for it. What's the reason for events being created for you to experience? And the answer to that, for me, my opinion, is to evolve. If you look back at the bad things that have happened in your life, and this varies from person to person, I can personally look back on every bad thing that's happened bad experience that I hated, experience that fucking sucked. I can look back on it now and I can see what I got out of it. Sometimes it takes some really bad stuff for a really long time to get a fundamental thing about you that is flawed fixed. It can just be a little thing. Like, I had a very long, sort of shitty, abusive relationship with someone who was physically abusive. And it really got me to the point where I wasn't willing to take that shit anymore. Now, a lot of people just come out that way. I didn't. So I had to go through this experience to finally change me to the point where I was like, I'm not going to take this shit anymore. To get me to the point where I had enough self-respect to function without an abusive relationship being a part of my life. If you don't have that, you are a shoo-in for a relationship with somebody who matches with that. That's just kind of the world is your reflection. That's kind of how this works. So those experiences sort of organically come up. They seem to be orchestrated. I certainly didn't manifest that abusive relationship from this human perspective on purpose or anything. It just sort of happened naturally. Now, why was that person where he was the day that he was when we met? My father is greater than I and knows what needs to happen for me to get from point A to point B. It's like a manifestation, but if you're not aware, if you're not doing the work yourself, then this thing seems to be able to do it for you. This higher self, there seems to be a trajectory we're all on. We're all pointing in some direction, trying to get to the end point, and you are where you are in that process. And if you don't take on the work yourself, it will sort of be presented to you in a mysterious and I think wonderful way. And so what can you do about this? It seems obvious to me, but you can choose to take on this work yourself. You can choose to do the work of evolution yourself as much as you can. If you can't do something, I think you can pretty much count on an event happening that will get you there the hard way if need be. I was talking about this in the last video. It's like going to the dentist. You can choose to, at the time of your choosing, take care of your teeth, do the things that are necessary so that some event later doesn't teach you that you have to care about yourself. Or you cannot do that. And sometimes, that's the thing, like you're not aware and it's really struggle and you can't do it. If you can't do it yourself, you will eventually end up at the dentist with a whole bunch of problems. And you will then sort of have to live after that with whatever the outcome of that is. You'll have to go through that painful experience in order to hopefully learn. And if you don't learn then, what will happen logically? You'll continue to not take care of your teeth. More of your teeth will rot. You'll be able to chew even less. You'll end up at the dentist. You'll end up with fewer teeth. And hopefully at some point, maybe you'll be sitting there at 80 with a full set of dentures or no teeth or whatever. And you'll say, I get it. I get it. I just needed to care about myself. I care about myself to the point now where if I had teeth, I'd gladly take care of them. This is the way a lot of people end up getting this stuff. But I think that one of the areas that you do have at least some control over, and this is all mental work, is just trying the best you can to do as much of this on your own terms as you can. If the Father that is greater than I is creating the experiences I need to move forward, it stands to reason that the Father that is greater than I will have to create a lot fewer events for me to learn the hard way if I just do the work myself as much as I can. This is my philosophy. I think you'll find if you watch this channel that it's consistent. And I don't have anything in my life that I can come up with that doesn't follow this. And so who knows what has to happen to get us all to the end point? Who knows what will have to be gone through? If you have faith that this is all for your own good at the end of the day, it makes things a lot easier. It's a perspective on your own life that I think you will find checks out. If you look at everything that's happened, maybe just now you're starting to look at it that way. Maybe this is a totally new idea. But I think if you start to look at life this way, you'll see that it flows exactly like that. At least that's been my experience. That's been my experience. I try to say that a lot. I don't want people to think that if this isn't their experience, that that's somehow wrong. I don't know. This is just my experience. And what I'm saying, I think, is supported in a lot of ways by a lot of different spiritual texts regarding karma. A Course in Miracles talks about this stuff, how your shifts in perception, which is all I'm really talking about. It's seeing things a different way. It's understanding things in a different, higher, better way. That book talks a lot about how miracles have far-reaching effects. You may never know, you may never know the outcomes of simple shift in the way you see the world, the way you see things, and the way you approach things and people. So, it's something to think about. Whether or not you can avoid going through things, I think there's a good chance, based on everything that I have experienced and read and seen and understood, and that has been revealed to me, that if you choose to do the work yourself, it's an accelerated way of getting to the point where you don't experience bad things as often or in the same way as you have been up till now. It's a different way of living your life. It's a happier way of living your life, more peaceful, more blissful, and potentially having very real world effects on what actually happens in your life. Now, I obviously have no way of proving that. These are all assertions and opinions. So anyway, I hope that gave you something to think about. Have a great day.